Hello there. Today I'm going to be doing something a little bit different. I'm going to be drafting one of my own cubes. So here we have it. This is the archive. This is my main cube. It's a 540 card, let's call it underpowered legacy cube. And the shtick of this cube is that I have included at least 3 cards for every standard legal magic set ever printed. There's a few caveats to that. We'll see this at the bottom, but really this is just trying to showcase cards throughout Magic's history and to make them play well together. And yeah, try and see if we can get the different cards in dialogue with each other. So see at the top here, I have some touchstone creatures. The reason I've laid these out are these are creatures that I want to at least be playable. These are all from Alpha, and I remember playing with all of these as a kid, most especially Sarah Angel and Shivan Dragon, but all of them I'm sure I had in decks. And it's not that these are going to be the best creatures in the cube, perhaps far from it, but you shouldn't be embarrassed to put these in your deck. So the big theme, as I said, was we want old meets new, or maybe put another way, iconic meets obscure. So you can see some, OG cards here that, again, I love and just resonate with me from my childhood. And then this section of the primer actually tells my story. I played from Revised in 94, and then kind of stopped playing in around Ice Age and took a giant gap until returning for OG Dominaria. So there's a whole lot of cards that I never got to see in building up this cube. I've actually got to experience just, I guess, decades of Magic that I missed. Down here I have some example synergies that you might see along the way. An old pitch card with a newer discard outlet, or old graveyard weird draw spells with Insidious Roots. There's all sorts of things like that seeded through the archive. And instead of built around top-down archetypes, 2-color pairs, I've tried to build the archive with an eye towards packages, with a package being roughly 10 to 20, sometimes more cards along a given theme, usually in 2 colors, sometimes more, so you can see some sample cards here. And I don't want my primer to give away what all those are. If you ever want to see what all those are, I do have a spreadsheet linked at the bottom where you can go see how I've broken it all down. There is that level of detail available for anybody interested. So just skimming to the bottom, I mentioned that the set's built with at least 3 cards from each standard legal set. Here's actually the exceptions that I have. So I've added 4 sets that were never legal in standard. So 1995 had Chronicles. The reason that's in there is to force a bunch more old cards into the cube. And then I really like the Modern Horizons sets. They have some weird build-arounds. So you'll see they have MH1, 2, and 3. In terms of exclusions, the only true Universes Beyond set that I have in the archive is Final Fantasy. It's a big Final Fantasy nerd growing up. I really love that set. It's a great draft environment, so I couldn't not include it. But I don't really like Universes Beyond in general, so the archive will not contain any other Universes Beyond sets. And as I say at the bottom here, just got the link to the worksheet for the archive. You can go view that if you want. And a shout out to Cogwork Librarian. This is a really tough project to pull together, and if you haven't used Cogwork Librarian, that site is really amazing. So, bit longer ramble than I usually start one of these with, but let's jump into a draft. Okay, so here's pack one, pick one, and here's all our cards. And so I can probably, as we go through, talk a little bit more about some of the archetypes in here, but right away I'm drawn to something like Jace, who really wants us to mill ourselves so that we can win the game with an empty library. We have Kemba. This is a neat equipment payoff. There's a red-white equipment package. Not a lot of other actual packages represented here. Just some other good cards, and let's actually try and lean into something, and maybe something a little bit weird. So let's take a self-mill card to start and see if we can do something with that. So we'll start with Jace, Wielder of Mysteries. Moving on to pack 1, pick 2. So we'll be interested in blue cards because we're going to try and support Jace, and anything that mills ourselves is good. So for self-milling, we have a flashback card, always good. Though I really do love Mia Mischievous Mystic. That's a great Foundations card. If I wanted to really start leaning into nonsense, we could look at a Leave the Graveyard sub-theme in here. I'm not sure if I want that level of nonsense to start. I think I'm going to take the Mystic. It's cheap. Other things in here, well, you can see there's a bit of a heroic theme supported. We can do some blinky stuff, but really let's just take a Mischief, look at drawing cards. I hate to pick 3. We got a Castle and a Skyray in blue. We don't have an awful lot of ways to... We'll have... This is those draw, or does it take off the top? Yeah, look at the top 3 cards. So Warlock class is not a draw spell. So yeah, not a lot of things that explicitly go with what we're doing. The Skyray is not great here. It's a more discard. I guess we do have the cycling if we want to enable the Mystic that way. So maybe I take that back. Maybe the Skyray is a good pick. And Castle. Castle's just good to get a land out there. I think it's a lot better to discard outlets, so let's just take the Castle and move on. Okay, there's a Spectral Sailor. That's a great card. Curiosity. We do have some removal in Volcanic Hammer. A little bit more graveyard stuff to fossilize. But I like the Sailor and what we're doing so far. We could look at blue-white. We have an Absorb. We still haven't got a good land, so there's a blue-red. If I want to self-mill, though, I probably want to stick around black. There's a weird bounce spell it's kind of a precursor to Run Away Together, I guess, except your opponent gets to choose what they're running away with. Not a lot of great cards here. This deck wants to be more controlling, so we'll take the Absorb. And then we have an Unsummon or a Dreamstalker in blue. I'm still not really committing to anything other than that. If we are going to lean into removal, though, Verdict is okay. There's a Shivan Dragon, but I don't think we're going to do that today. I think what I want to do is just take a land out of this pack. I don't love any of it. Just take a land there and move on. Right over here, not that I want to be in 3 colors, but we're not really committed to white yet. But here's a Mystic Snake, another type of counterspell. Very old card. Blue's really cut. Piggy Bank's actually a great card here. If I'm self-milling, Skinner is a Delirium payoff. It's unfortunate there's a land to go with it here. Self-milling, we could take a Millstone. Might actually do that. Okay, let's take a Millstone and see if we can actually get there with the self-mill plan. Well, this is not the way to get anywhere with a self-mill plan. So pick 8 has nothing for us. Let's just take... I said black is best to pair with this. So probably the rats. And okay. Got a draw spell in Dreams, but that's really committing to black. Not going to do that. Maybe we'll just take the good counter spell here and continue to get unlucky. Don't think we're going to play anything here. Take the card that can enable shenanigans then. Desecrator Hag can play in green and black, so we'll just grab that. There's a Field of Ruin in case anything goes sideways in land. Yeah, there's not. We should have taken that Verdict. Alright, didn't love that pack, but kind of set up weird here. We don't have much blue. Actually, we have almost no blue. We're just being stubborn about trying to lean into Jace. So pack 2 had better be nicer to us. Might want to start actually going into like something more spellsy. Murmuring Mystic is, as it's labeled here, a pet card of mine. I can't pass a Murmuring Mystic. I'd feel terrible about it, even though there's probably better choices, but I can't even read these cards. There's a Mystic. Let's take that. Oh geez, over here we have a Midnight Reaper. I think we don't really have a lot of removal, and a free removal spell is great, and Snuff Out. There's also Treasure Cruise and a Peak, so there's actually a lot there. We're going to take Snuff Out. It's just too good. We have a Hedron Crab, where we can mill ourselves, and the Lab Maniac for some redundancy, so we have to take the Maniac for the deck we're building, so we're just going to go ahead and do that. And move on to pack 2, pick 4. Some weird... Actually, we're not creature heavy. Evacuation is kind of removal. Or I could pick up Death Denied in case I mill my Lab Maniac. That's a good way to get him back. That might be the pick. It's a bounce creature. And this is a pitch payoff. I think the pick here is going to be Death Denied for a bit more redundancy on the self-mill plan. Still hoping to get some mill. Okay, there's a Homeward Explorer. I would love some ways to blink or pick up or whatever the Explorer. It mills 4, which is a meaningful amount of mill. Unfortunately, we have some lands in here that we'd like to take, but do what we gotta do. Sad Robot in this pack. We're not proliferating. Probably not ninjutsuing G-Karn. We could look at the Revoker, which I deemed great in my Greater Garbage segment. Maybe it is the Revoker. It's a 2-drop. I only have 2 of those. Take the Revoker. I do like that card, despite what others say. And then maybe probably Bone Harvest. Don't think any of the rest of the cards here help me out. If I was in white, there's a board wipe. There's a lot of white-green here. The Zealot's just a good on-rate creature. So hold the fort. Actually, yeah, let's just take the Zealot. Now we're going to have to take a Refute. That's a great card. It does a draw spell for the... Well, maybe not for the Mystic, but draws a card, discards a card. Nothing for us here. Take the Pride of the Clouds. I'm not going to play or splash any of this. Actually, maybe we'll take Mariki. I probably pronounced your name wrong. Really do with some land. Need a white land for a couple of these things. Nothing going on in this pack. Let's just cut it and go. We're not playing poison. It's a great poison card. If we can find a way, if we can find some land or fixing, Lion Wait's also really great. Alright, still not in love with this deck. I have lots of things I could splash, but really can't. The Field of Ruin actually acts as fixing, sort of. So yeah, here we go. This is the one, so I have Whispers of the Muse. It's a, pay 6, basically, a draw card, and you do that every turn, so it's a really grindy late game card. We really need to find fixing, though. I'm not seeing any here. Whispers is the only blue or black card. It might just be better to take a Mind Stone, I'm not sure. I guess because we might end up short on playables, I'll take the Whispers. Pack 2, Jalum Tomes, some okay draw. Oh, Burnished Heart, because I think I'm going to need to fix. That will help. We're not discarding, so we're not playing the Chancellor. Let's take the Burnished Heart. Here we have a Micromancer, which is interesting. What do we have in the wall? All we have is Whispers right now. Okay. Micromancer's suddenly a lot less good. And White Land is something I'm interested in. It's unfortunate it's in the pack with a Dark Confidant and a Syncopate, but let's take the land. I don't need black-red land. In this pack, it's probably between Feed the Swarm and Bone Splinters. I have the option of making fodder with the Mystic. Feed the Swarm will let me clear any weird enchantments, though. So let's do that. Ketria is not the right colors. Construct, I got a bit of discarding going on for Construct. No, actually, we have a Null Priest down here. Let's do the Null Priest. Okay. Control Magic, probably a great card. Or Masticore, which I think is probably broken if I can keep cards in hand. I'd love to try Masticore. The last time it got drafted, it didn't get played, which I thought was a shame. I think it's a power outlier in this cube, so let's just take this. It can end up being kind of like a lightning bolt. Turn any card you have into a lightning bolt. So let's just pick that up. Right. We're starting to get to the end of this. The Vizier, we got some weird blue old removal. Legends is such a hard set to pick cards from. Got a Lionheart and equipment that deals 2 when it comes in. Platinum Angel. I might actually do that since I'm a little bit controlling. We are just not getting the lands. Alright, take Time Ebb, put target creature on top of owner's library. This is one of the first instances of that sort of effect in the game. It was kind of cool to discover. And now we're just going to round this out with cards I probably can't use. Well, we'll take my Namesake and Mana Flare. Not going to play it. We will take a bit more card draw in the Tome. The Sorcerer can just be annoying. So let's do that. And we're playing none of this. None of this. None of this. None of this. Alright, well, so I might have train wrecked myself in my own cube. That's exciting. Alright, let's try and build a deck out of this pile. I've recently been drafting great decks when I've test drafted the archive. I'm a little bit sad this is not a great deck, so we're not sure if we're doing Mariki. Don't know if we're doing Cloud Chaser. I am interested in this Teleportation Circle, simply because I could bounce Homeward to mill myself. I could bounce Cloud Blazer if I think I can pull that off. What else can I bounce? Rats is just kind of annoying to bounce if your opponent's stuck. Yeah, I mean, there's an okay number of things to bounce. So I have 16 creatures. That includes these 2 I've moved down for consideration. And I still have 6 cuts to go. 16 creatures is probably too many. Let's sideboard the Revoker. This deck doesn't need just a generic 2. A little bit torn on that guy, on the Zealot. Need the Heart to splash the white. I don't know that I love Whispers. In this deck anyway. I need the removal. The Millstone. Millstone will think about you. I don't think I can play the Absorb if I'm going to also play some other stuff. Can't play green. Jalum Tome. It works with some of what we're doing. Not necessarily all of it. I thought I had a Containment Construct. I do not. I did not take a Containment Construct. Get rid of the Tome then. Would have been better with the Construct. Kind of like just straight up draw a card. Alright. So of these cards on the right, I need to get rid of 2 of them. Okay, we're just going to do the thing. So we're keeping the Millstone. Why not? And I don't really think I need to take control of creatures. Whispers I will board in a slow deck. So let's just keep the body for defensive speed. And keep the Cloud Blazer for blinking. So I have... Alright, I got 2 white pips. I have... How many ways to do this? So I have 2 white pips, I have a heart, I have a Savai Triome, I have a Field of Ruins, and I guess I would end up playing 1 Plains. I'd prefer to have 5 white sources, more controlling shell. Maybe this will work out. And I have lots of ways to make little speed bumps if I try. Alright, so there you have it. This has been a draft of the archive. Not the best draft of the archive that I've ever put together, but hopefully you enjoyed watching this, and I'll see you next time.